So many of you guys know Lil Boosie. You've probably seen him on social media. You have probably heard something that he said. You probably are familiar with his music. And even if you are not, what I am about to play for you is going to be quite disturbing to you. All right. I'm just kind of warning you in advance. Lil Boosie is facing backlash for something that he said regarding his son and his nephew and how he allowed an adult woman to basically sexually molest them, and how he is perfectly okay with it, and he think it is perfectly fine for an adult woman to do this to very young boys. I want you to go ahead and listen to this clip, and I'm telling you, it is disturbing. Go ahead and take a listen, guys.
Ain't finna get my son no motherfucking shit out here. I'm training them boys right. Ask in there my nephew. Ask in them. Ask my son. Yeah. They were 12, 13. They got hit. Yeah. That's how it's supposed to be. Yeah. Hell yeah, I got my fucking son dick sucked. You fucking right. Yes, a grown woman. Grown, super grown. Super grown. Checked his ass out. Checked all my nephews out. Super grown. Is she grown? She checked me out. I know what the fuck she did to them. She checked me out, that bitch. I'm getting them prepared, man.
So as you can hear, or that you heard, Lil Boosie was perfectly okay allowing grown-ass women, and shame on these women, to molest teenagers, barely teenagers, to give them oral sex. And the reason why I wanted to do this video is because I don't remember, maybe it was a couple months back when the whole thing, when Dwayne Wade came out and he was talking about his child, and Boosie made a big old stink. He got on, he was like, man, don't cut the little nigga dick off, blah, 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 blah. And what I said in that video is I said, I can't be mad at Boosie for his opinion, but I also don't look to Boosie when it comes to parenting advice, which is why I couldn't get upset with what he said. No matter how people took it, whether they thought it was ignorant or if it was on point, I don't take advice from somebody like Lil Boosie. And I couldn't get upset with Lil Boosie because I would never take parenting advice from someone who thinks it is perfectly okay to have an older woman pretty much sexually molest his young nephew and his son as if it is a rite of passage. And in his mind, it is. I hope none of you think that this is okay. I'm sure there are people out here that think this is perfectly fine. But please stop thinking that these kind of things aren't traumatic for young boys. To have a grown-ass woman put her mouth on a little boy, because that's what he is disgusting. And you know that if a woman was sitting here bragging that she allowed men to touch all over her 12 or 13-year-old daughter, we would have burned her at the stake. We would have called DCFS on that heifer for doing that. So why isn't Boosie getting the same energy? Now, he has created a backlash, okay? People are calling him out for this mess because this is not okay. And I pray for anybody who would think that this is okay. And we've heard it. Time. I remember when Lil Wayne, it was a while ago, when I remember him telling a story about how he got oral sex from a woman when he was just basically a little boy, barely into puberty, and he got oral sex from a woman. And even if a man sits here and says, "Oh, that was great, I liked it," that's sexual abuse. And again, if the roles were reversed, we would not think it was okay if a young girl had been touched like that from an adult man. We would be calling the authorities. That's why R. Kelly's ass basically is in jail right now, right? So why is it okay for grown ass women to touch on little boys and people think it's okay? Like, oh, that's cool. That's we just kind of like, making him out to be a man. That is not okay, and we have got to stop thinking that that is okay. It probably happens more often than not in the Black community, where grown ass women are babysitters and touching on these young boys. And who knows what kind of trauma and what that does to a young man mentally. What that does to him mentally, and how that plays out in his adult life, right? You don't know what that could do to a young man mentally. Sexual abuse is sexual abuse. It whether it's a young boy or it's a young girl, sexual abuse by an adult is wrong. And what Boosie has done here is he is trying to normalize what he did for his son and nephew as it's just a rite of passage for a young man. No, it is not. It is wrong. And whatever or whoever this woman is, or whatever woman would even participate in that, she need her ass whooped, and she should go to jail just like you would put a man in jail if he was to do it to a young lady. Again, if this was a woman online saying exactly what Boosie said, and she was saying that she was allowing her young daughter, 12 or 13-year-old, to have men come in and touch on her, this woman would be all over the national media. All right. But Boosie will get a pass. Yeah, people will talk about it. It'll be a little backlash and stuff. But see, this is why I get so upset when people got so much shit to say about like the Tekashis and stuff. And I don't give a damn about no goddamn Tekashi 6ix9ine. But these men have a lot to say about snitching and all this other bullshit, but won't call out this kind of behavior from their own. This kind of stuff will slide. You won't hear Snoop Dogg talk about nothing. He'll talk about snitches. Meek Mill will talk about snitches. But who is going to call out Boosie and say, Boosie, this ain't cool. This is not okay. Maybe it's because they think the same way, and they think it's perfectly okay for a young man to be slurped on by a grown-ass woman, and that's cool, and that's okay, and that makes him a man. And that is sick. That's sick shit, because if it was reversed and we were talking about a girl, that dude would be locked up for touching on a young girl, and we would not be celebrating it or calling it a rite of passage. Young men should be protected like we protect young women. If we don't do it, I don't think our society does a good enough job to protect these young girls from predators. So you know that they're overlooking young men and sexual predators. And yes, there are a lot of women that are sexual predators to young boys. And this has got to stop. This is sickening to me. When I saw this clip floating around, that's why I said to myself, that's why I didn't get upset. That's why I said when it came to the whole Dwayne Wade and Boosie talking all this shit, and I was like, okay, well, I ain't upset about it, because again, I wouldn't take parenting advice from this dude right here. His parenting advice I would never take, because you see how he parents. And I bet you any kind of money he wouldn't allow and Boosie got daughters. I bet you any kind of money Boosie would never allow his young daughters to be touched on by some grown ass man as a rite of passage. So it shouldn't be okay for his young man too. Because just because he thinks it's okay, those men those are boys. Those are young kids. They can't consent to that. And that makes it rape. And some of you might think like, oh, you overthinking it. No, I'm not. That would be rape for a young girl. So why wouldn't it be rape for a young boy? They can't consent. They are too young to make a consent to something like that. So that makes it wrong. Okay, and we know if, again, the roles were reversed and a woman was talking about something like he just talked about on that clip, people would be calling her out, and they should. So Boosie should be called out. And I'm waiting on these rappers they got so much to say about everything else. I'm waiting on them to speak up, but I'm sure it's going to be crickets, and they're not going to say shit because black men aren't protected, and young black men aren't protected. Young black girls aren't protected, and it's a shame. So I just wanted to get that off my chest. I thought it was disgusting, but I just want to know what you guys think. Sound off, and I'll see you on the next video. Take care, guys.